So we're looking at tables in design. So we have the document here, table start. You can download it from the link in the description. And we're going to take this text, which is basically just tab delineated at the moment. So just before we start that, to create a table, you can either take a text frame. So I'm just going to drag out a text frame. And I can go to table, insert table, and I can put in how many rows, columns, headers, and rows, and so on. Or if I don't create a text frame, I can just go table, create table, and choose my settings and say OK, and then I can drag it out, and it creates a text frame and it inserts the table inside it. There are two slightly different methods with slightly different results. So the second result will give you a table with rows that fill the area. Now, to type into these cells is simply a case of typing. So I could say item 1 and then tab to the next cell and item 2 and keep on tabbing. When you get to the very last cell on the right hand side, tabbing will create a new line, and if I just extend my text frame down, you'll see there's a new line there. To change the width of columns, you move your mouse over them and drag, and rows the same. To change the overall size of the table, you would go to the bottom right corner until you see a diagonal arrow, and then you can drag to change the size of the entire table. To select the entire table, go to the top left-hand corner. When you get a diagonal arrow, click, and you will select the whole table, and then you will get all sorts of formatting settings for your table here. So that's a very quick intro into how tables work. Now, this is not a video where we're going to type information. That would be a waste of time. So I've given you this information here in this top area. And if I want to see my hidden characters, if I go to type and then show hidden characters, you can see that there's a tab after each one of these lines here. And if I go to my tab settings, so type tabs, you can see that I have a tab set for each one of these columns. They're not really columns, but each item is tabbed across. So that's okay, but it's not as powerful as tables. So what we're going to do, just so that you can see the difference, is I'm going to turn off hidden characters, so hide hidden characters from the type menu, and I'm going to take my selection tool and I'm just going to hold down Option or Alt and drag a copy down so that we can see our progress. So instead of us having tab delineated information, we're going to switch to our type tool. We're going to select all this information, and we're going to go to our table menu and say convert text to table. And we're going to say we want the separator to be a tab. Now, it could be comma separated. Sometimes when you get stuff in CSV format from Excel, you can use comma delineated. And then row separator is a paragraph hidden character. So that's going to work well for us here. So when I press OK, you can see now the same information is split into a table with a heading across the top. Okay, so that's pretty neat, but it's not very well formatted. It's still pretty boring. So I'm just going to make this a bit taller so all the information is there. So with my selection tool, I'm going to Alt or Option drag a copy down. And now let's do some formatting. So I'm going to just drag this text frame bigger so that we can play around here. So the first thing I'm going to do is increase the height of this table so that it looks a little bit neater. So I'm going to switch to my type tool, go to the bottom right hand corner. When I see that diagonal arrow, I'm just going to drag down a bit so that we get a bigger row height. Then I'm going to select all the text inside here. So click Control or Command A to select all. And then Escape, which will switch you between the selection of a content and the selection of the cell. And then I can just hold down Shift and I can just use my arrow keys to select everything. And let me try it here. So Escape and then all the way. So we've got everything selected here. And I'm going to change it to I think Arial Regular is fine and 12 point is fine. And then let's select just the header row and let's make that Arial Bold and 14 points. So it's bigger. And Then I want to get rid of the borders. So I'm just going to go to the top left-hand corner when I see that diagonal arrow click so that everything is selected. And over here is a widget or a proxy for my cells. So whatever is blue is what will be affected. So if I click here, I'm going to make those blue and those blue, which means all my table borders will be affected. And I'm just going to take the point size down to 0. And the color to none. So now if I take my selection tool, click away and press W to preview, you can see that this table now has no borders. So let's do some color changes. So I'm going to drag across the header row and I'm going to go to my fill color here and I'm going to set it to this dark blue color, and then I'm going to change from frame to text and set it to paper. So I now have that as a nice heading. Then I'm going to select everything else here and I'm going to set the fill for the frame to that same blue color, but I'm going to set the tint to 25. Okay, then I'm going to take every alternate row. So I'm going to have to do this. There's another way of doing this slightly more automatically, but I'm not going to bother with that. It's under your table settings here and under where is it? Cell options, strokes and fills. But I'm just going to do this manually because it's going to be quicker for me. So we're going to set that to 5%, and here fill 5. And one more. Okay, so that's looking a lot better. I do want to have some kind of line vertically to separate these columns. So I'm going to select here, and I'm going to go to my proxy and I'm going to uncheck these and say just the left-hand extreme and center lines. And I'm going to set those to that blue color and 1 point. Okay, and then I want a border around the whole thing, so I'm going to select the whole table and I'm going to have just the outer lines, and I'm going to choose that blue color and I'm going to set it to 3 points. Okay, so now you can see we have a much more professional looking table, and you can continue adding images to table cells. It's pretty powerful, and you can have running headers going through multiple pages. So there's a lot you can do with tables, but this is just a quick introduction to how tables work.